Say what?
Disclaimer, things are real.
Things are real. Yeah. Who would have known? Not me. It took me till I was a senior in undergrad to understand the electron transport chain. Do you understand the electron transport chain? That's my point. Exactly. What's at the end of the electron transport chain? ATP synthase. Okay, good. We discovered that in about 2010. So in your lifetime, that's what's made what has to come at the end of the electron transport chain in order for it to not clog up and stop. Not electrons, that's what's clogging it up. Oxygen, because it's the final electron acceptor of the electron transport chain. That's why you breathe O2.
How much of your time have you spent post-undergrad relearning everything you just learned?
I have read the intro textbook from cover to cover. Just read it. Just gone back and been like, what do I not understand? I've gone back and read all of the textbooks, besides genetics, because I don't have that one. But I've just opened them up and been like, what don't I remember? And just read it again.
I can't wait for that.
Unfortunately, that has not helped my ability to pronounce words. This one is an easy one compared to like 15 slides from now that is on there that I have no hope of pronouncing correctly. And I tried for like an hour yesterday. I sat there listening to it on YouTube, going over and over. I'm like repeating it. Like I'm sitting there trying to learn Spanish. And I'm like constantly like, all right, it's this thing. Woke up today, no clue. No clue how to say it. Not at all. Was gaming with people last night, posted it in the channel. How do I say this? No one knew. Asked 30 other people, no one knew. Asked other people to pronounce it, couldn't do it. So we'll try. Yeah, really terribly. Yeah, it's like phonetic spelling of it. So it's a whole thing. All right. We left off here. Yeah, we went over these Metatherian versus Eutherian kind of points. The little bit of this here is talking more about Metatherians, and we're getting into what Metatherians are in South America, particularly, and the radiation that happened outward from there. So, South American Metatherians, you have Didelomorphia. There's 17 genera and 87 species in it. There are currently 5, I believe it's 5, extant orders of South American Metatherians. You know what the word extant means, right? Still living. There's extant, which is still alive, still living. Extirpated, which is what? Locally extinct. In this region, it's extinct. And then just extinct, which is, of course, just all gone, right? Does anyone know the IUCN classification before extinct, like right before it? Ooh, there's one after that. Super critically extinct in the wild. Yeah. So there are, yep, good. There's critically endangered, extinct in the wild, and then extinct is what they use, right? There are some that probably will never get that in between, that extinct in the wild, because they just don't exist in captivity well. I.e., if something ever happens to great white sharks, for example, they're screwed because you cannot captively keep a great white shark. It doesn't work. Everybody that's tried, they've been dead in like less than a week. So it just doesn't work. They end up killing themselves because the electrical field around the tank is too much, because their sensory organ is too sensitive and it picks up the electrical field, and they constantly try to ram into it. So, all right. What's interesting about these guys? So a lot of these slides are going to have like some general info and then just like interesting points about them, takeaway points that we're going to pay attention to in particular. All right. So where these guys predominantly live. Southern Canada to southern Argentina, which you could just also refer to as Patagonia, right? That's like southern Argentina, Chile. Is that how you properly say it? Is it Chile? Chile. And then down, well, not the Falkland Islands, but just Patagonia in general. Brain case is long and narrow, like some of the skulls we got out. It's got a large predominant sagittal crest, which hopefully now you understand what that is, right? Why that would exist. The marsupium is either present or absent, which is weird, right? This is one of the reasons why you wanted to be careful. You've learned what marsupials were from the time you were, I don't know, 3, 4, 5, whatever, because you learned what a kangaroo was. You learned a kangaroo had a pouch and all that and the other, right? So you've been good with that. But and marsupials are named after their marsupium, being the pouch, right? But here you're learning that not all metatherians, which marsupials fit into, technically have a pouch all the time. So this is interesting, which is why the better name would be to say metatherians, right? Because then you're classifying the whole thing. You're being specific in that. And the more detailed and specific you can be, as you've learned further into science, if you could be specific, you should be specific, right? Okay. Tail usually prehensile. You guys know what prehensile tails are? Yes? No? What are they? Yeah, it's a tail that is there not just for like, I mean, everybody that has a tail, let's say like a dog and a cat, they have a tail that they can use and move. And it's for things, but it's not a prehensile tail. So a prehensile tail would be like that of a monkey or a lemur or something like that, right? Where they can use it to grasp things and hang from it on purpose. It's another appendage that they can actively manipulate to move their body around or whatever. These metatherians also have that. Okay. Passi is called shrew opossums. If you look that up, I would, if I were you, this is what I would do. You know how you can split the PowerPoint in like one half of the screen and have something else on the other one? I would do that and then just like look some of these up as we go through them so you can see more of what they look like. Because on some of these I have pictures and other ones I don't. Yeah, or share, I don't know. There's 3 genera, 6 species. There's no marsupium, so no pouch on them at all. They have lower incisors, are procumbent. We'll go over what that is in dentistry, or in the dentary and tooth section. Elongated head, small eyes, very large olfactory bulbs, which for those of you that took A&P1 means they have a very sensitive cranial nerve 1. You may or may not know, but you will know now, that from the divergence that existed, reptiles and mammals share a common ancestor, right? And it's generally considered, just in layman's terms, not in like deep scientific terms, but in layman's terms, that people consider reptiles like more primitive than mammals, yes. But technically they're about the same age. It's just like the traits are more derived in mammals is really what it is. But again, that doesn't mean better or worse or anything, you know? Reptiles went towards vision for their, if you had to pick like one of the 5 senses that something specialized in, reptiles went towards vision. They have better eyesight than us, many of them do. But we, mammals, went towards smell, olfactory senses, which should be pretty evident to you because there's definitely some kind of smell that you could walk into a house and smell or something, and it takes you immediately to some memory that you have associated with that thing. 2 popular ones are some holiday cooking, baking cookies, something, grandma's house, something like that. It reminds you immediately of holidays around grandma or something of that same nature, 4th of July, whatever, like the smell of sulfur and fireworks or whatever, right? That thing. And the other one that people around your age have is there's some kind of liquor that you had too much of and no longer. As soon as you smell it, you almost gag and you throw up because you had too much of it one time and you could no longer drink it. You know what I'm talking about? No? No one here knows what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about? All right, that's a thing. What is it for you? What is it?
UV bloom.
UV bloom? Okay. I think for Casey, it's Fireball. Okay. I don't have one. I didn't have my first drink till I was 25. It was a wheat beer. Delicious. It was good. It was good beer. I highly recommend it. It's made with marmalade and peaches. Really good. I never went off the deep end, though. Oh my God. I don't know. It must be her ancestors or something, but I seen that woman put down 33 drinks in one night. She's expensive. All right. Microbiopteria. What do you think this just means on the face of it? Just take the name at itself. Smaller, right? Bio, I mean, theoria is obvious, right? We're talking about reproduction and that being a mammal and so forth. And then micro should tell you it's smaller. One species in this, they're in the southern Andes Mountains, which is located where? Chile. Yeah, I'm going to say it right now. Chile. It's located in southern Chile, and it's the youngest mountain region on the planet, in case you wanted to know. Second is the Himalayas, I believe. Their cloaca opens on the ventral side of the tail, which is interesting. And this tympanic bullae are greatly enlarged. What is tympanic? Eardrum. Right. 5 extant orders. In Australian metatherians, you have Dasomorphia, Paramelomorphia, Nocturnal Cytomorphia, Diprodontia, and Microbiopteria. The ones you definitely know are these guys here: koalas, possums, gliders, kangaroos. Right now, there's more kangaroos in Australia than people. Last time I looked, oh God, I can't remember the exact number, but I think it was like 40 million kangaroos or something. Is it higher than that? Oh, you don't? Yeah, it's a massive amount. It's so much that they just like there's no hunting season on them. You just go out and take one. Like, yeah, like you just go out and kill a kangaroo and take the meat. Like no one. It's like, please do this. That's what they're doing. Kind of like when I grew up in Indiana. There's no wolves in Indiana anymore, and there's barely any coyotes where I was. And they reintroduced even more white-tailed deer. And they were like, this sounds good. The hunters want that. What do you think happened in about 10 years? Oh, so many deer, just everywhere. And suddenly it's a complaint, right? Deers are eating my garden. It's everywhere. They're just like destroying everything. It's like, yeah, well, when I was little, I didn't know any better. But now that I'm older, I think of that. I was like, how dumb are you? Like, that's definitely dumb, right? Like, come on. And then for a while, it was just like, yeah, we don't care when. Just like, please go kill deer. Please do that, because they're starting to become a safety risk, just jumping out in front of cars in the middle of nowhere. And it's Indiana, so no one obeys speed limits. You go 70 and a 30 and it's fine because a cop passes you doing 80. That's not a joke either. That's not an exaggeration. All right. Dasomorphia. Oh God, I butchered that. Dasomorphia. 20 genres, 69 species. You have small carnivores in here, some really cool little guys that are under big threat at the moment. These guys right here, a numbat. I don't know nearly as much about them. I know more about wombats. Wombats are interesting because they poop in perfect cubes, which is very weird. Very weird. But they live around cliffs. And if you poop in a cube, what does that keep your poop from doing? Rolling, which keeps it in one spot and it hides you from predators. So This is the Tasmanian wolf we described last time, extinct in 1932 or something. I don't, yeah, 1930s. They're gone. Okay, here's members of Days Years a Day. You have these guys, which people might mistake for a mouse, not a mouse, right? They're metatherians. They're not eutherians, and all mice are eutherians. Not mice at all. Look like mice, not mice, right? Just like when we get to it further, y'all ever seen a civet? You know what a civet is? Kind of looks like a cat, kind of looks like a dog. Not either. What is it? Okay. What about these little guys? These are adorable. I want one of these really bad. Just look at that thing. He's adorable. They're like this big. I just want it. I want to squeeze it. But they're highly endangered now. Tasmanian devils. Any of you seen Looney Tunes? Yeah, you know. Okay. Look at their skull. Take a moment. Keep in mind how small they are. Look at their skull. Take a moment. Discuss what it is you are noticing about their skull. Apply it to their size, and then tell me what you think after a minute or two. This is why we looked at skulls on Monday. No. Oh my God, look at that thing. Look at, oh, I have seen this. Yeah. Yeah, right? All right, what about it? The teeth? The jaw is huge for its size, right? It's gigantic. And the teeth in it, what about them specifically? Those look like knives. They look like they will shred you in a matter of seconds. Probably not as sharp as something like a shark tooth, right? Because those are like actual razor blades. Yeah. But that's definitely designed to shred something off, right? If you see molars like this, and again, we'll talk about it later, but the molars of a predator, especially as they go back when they look like this, any idea what they're designed to do? That's more here of the like premolars and incisors. That's more the grip to keep it from ripping out. These back here are for something else. Crushing bone, getting an anchor point down to crush the bone in half, and one other major function. What do you think you could do? Okay. Have you all eaten like baby back ribs? Yeah, or St. Louis ribs or whatever, beef ribs. You've eaten ribs. Okay. What could you do if you had sharp teeth, but those like weren't cooked, they weren't smoked, they weren't barbecued? If they were just like on the bone, what did sharp serrated teeth allow you to do at that point? It allows you to get in there and shred it off the bone, right? We don't have to do that because we barbecue it and it's delicious. It falls off the bone and that's, tasty. Especially if you use oak wood and hickory. But the serratedness allows it to just shred it right off. These guys, this is what's happening to them though. They are under severe pressure from a cancer. It's a virus that's highly transmittable and it causes cancer. And they've been dying at an alarming rate. And it's not certain that their entire population will survive it, honestly. There are some in zoos, so they're not going to go totally extinct. And as far as I'm aware, I haven't kept on it in the past year or so. So I don't have really up-to-date info. As far as I know, they're trying to keep captive populations totally away. That way, if the need to reintroduce happens, they could do so. But I'm not sure where they're at on that, what the decisions have been in that regard in the past year. You'd have to look that up. I'd be interested to know. If someone ends up looking it up, just tell me. I'll be happy to talk to you about it. But this is what's it looks like on them, and this is just like killing them because it's making them not able to hunt, find food. It's highly transmissible when they fight, and they're Tasmanian devils. They're aggressive. They fight a lot.
So there's fewer than 25,000. Most of them are in captive breeding program.
Yeah. Does it say how many are in the wild? Get an estimate?
16,925,000.
Okay, so lower number, 17,000 on the lower end. And there should probably be somewhere around the realm of, I don't know, 90 to 100,000, thereabouts. So they've been decimated. Yeah, so I would assume now, I mean, Tasmania has been built up a little bit, urbanized, so it would be a little bit lower. You would expect them to be somewhere around 100,000 to 120 with all of that going on. And if they're only at 17 on the lower end, then we're 80% loss or so. Okay, here's your Tasmanian tiger that is now extinct. You can look up, this is from the video where this guy was like yawning. I told you about that, his mouth is huge. You could look that up. You could see it, it's on YouTube. All you have to do is type in, you don't even have to type this, you can type in Tasmanian tiger in YouTube and it'll come up. But it'll show you the last surviving one. They're hunted to extinction for predation reasons, right? It's the same old story that's happened for, I don't know, the past 5,000 years. We want to raise livestock. These attack livestock, therefore we get rid of them. Now they're gone. Instead of trying some other kind of deterrent method, which on some level I understand. I mean, people that are raising livestock have a right to raise their livestock and have some kind of life to survive. Of course they do. But that doesn't also make you the arbiter of what gets to live and die. Right? So, and it's not like they weren't smart enough at that time to figure it out. People, for whatever reason, I've noticed, have assumed, and I don't know where this assumption comes from, that people have been only smart for like the past 100 years or 150 years. That's just not, I mean, come on. Right? People have been smart for a long time. There have been smart people since people have existed. Right? I mean, Isaac Newton was 26 after he invented the laws of physics, or discovered, he didn't invent them, he discovered them, and discovered gravity and invented calculus. Then he turned 26. There have been smart people for a really long time. So they could have figured it out if they wanted to, they just didn't care. Okay. Notorectomorphia has two species. They're marsupial moles, again in quotations there. So are they a mole? No, because a mole is eutherian. Okay, but they're mole-like. They look like a mole, kind of. They have fossorial adaptations such that they have vestigial eyes and lenses. Their ears lack a pinnae. Do you know what a pinnae of your ear is? It's the outer portion that you can see. It's your outer ear. This is the pinna of your ear. Enlarged claws for digging. Marsupial opens only posteriorly, which is interesting. What does that mean? Let's pretend for a second that this porcupine skeleton is what we're talking about. If the marsupial opens posteriorly, where on the animal does this open? The opening is this way, right? Instead of being this way anteriorly, which would be normal, right? Or superiorly, dorsally, like on a possum, it's this way, which is just odd. It's not normal. It's a thing, but it's just odd. Okay. Parallelomorphia is bandicoots. These guys are cool. If you've never seen one, look them up. Their ears are hilarious. They're also quite adorable, but it's just they are funny looking. They just look funny. Yeah, yeah. Their rostrum's long, slender. Take a look at their skull. Tell me what you see. Long. Rostrum's really long. What else? It's narrow. Tell me about their eye socket. What do you see about their eye socket? If you're just looking at it compared to other skulls, does it look like it's deep? Does it look shallow? Looks kind of shallow. Yeah. And then see this here? Part of their orbit that's there? That's kind of restraining it. Now look up a bandicoot. Actually, just look it up. And then look at the skull. Look at how their eye sits in there. What I really want you to notice is like how much you can tell just by looking at a skull, right? You can see a picture of it, and that's one thing. Then you look at the skull, and then you can start to understand the outer appearance, the phenotypic appearance of that animal as it applies to the skull. The more you do that, the more you can look at a skull and be like, oh, okay, we really actually can start to understand what this thing looks like just from having the skull. But you need time to be able to process that, do that. You need to look at different animals. You need to have the examples of the animals that are currently extant and their skull next to it to look at and then practice doing that. But it's a certain thing that you develop just through practice, and you can be like, oh, okay, this is probably what it looked like. And this is what Peacock was trying to get at. But, you know. Okay. Here, we have different structures of all the same, well, the same structure on different animals, rather, right? Different species. We have a long-nosed bandicoot here, a bilibee, which is, again, hilariously looking, as Brooklyn pointed out, and pig-footed bandicoots. What do we see? This, first of all, do you know if this is what you would consider like their front appendage, which would be our hands, or is it their feet that we're looking at? You tell me. It's their feet. How do you know it's their feet? Okay, all right, good. If you didn't have that, what on here tells you that it's their foot? Calcaneus. Your calcaneus is your heel. And as should be familiar to you at this point, the same bones that are in your foot is in every mammal ever, which is also in most reptiles, right? They're all the same bones. They're just arranged differently. And sometimes there are bones that are fused. Sometimes bones are reduced or lost due to whatever morphometric structure or anatomical change, but they're there and they're the same ones, right? Heel on them, heel calcaneus, yours is also your heel. Up here would be a talus. It's not pictured, but your talus would be there. That's what connects your foot to your ankles, your talus. All right. What do we see here? What's common amongst them? That fourth digit is substantially larger in all of them. So that seems to be a shared trait. There's some reason that that has been preserved. If you look at a long-nosed bandicoot versus a pig-footed bandicoot, what's the difference? The other toes are pretty much gone. They're still there, but they're exceedingly reduced, right? Which means what, probably? If you had a guess. They just weren't needed, right? Sometimes the answer doesn't have to be hard. If they're gone, then they're not needed because you don't use them, and therefore they just didn't need them, right? Okay. This is a bilby right here. Look at this guy. He looks hilarious. I think they look like they're in a constant state of confusion. This also reminds me of my orange cat, Carl. He just looks confused, and it looks like an orange cat in the same way. It's the same facial structure. Confusion. Okay. Yeah, right? It's just orange cat vibes. All right. Protodontia has all of these families in there. There are some that we're going to focus on more than others. Vomidae, that's one. Ones with the koalas, which let me try to pronounce. Phasochlorarctidae, I think. Yeah, Phascolarctidae. There you go. Ring-tailed possums and gliders down here, and kangaroos, heroes, wallabies. Those will be more along the lines of focus. Yep. Not all of them, no. No. Here is Vomidae. This is a wombat. Look at this guy. It looks weird. What is this? Look at this skull. What's going on here? Doesn't that look really weird? Really weird. That seems like alien species weird. Right. Look at its scientific name. Membatus ursinus, which tells you it kind of resembles bear, right? Ursidae. And if you look at the structures up here, how this is formed, it does kind of look like a bear. Yeah, look at the sagittal crest going here. The muscle attachment points, how deep they're represented to be. That's kind of like a bear. Yeah. What's going on up here in the front? What can you tell about the animal just from looking at the anterior part of its skull? Okay, it has decent size incisors to cut something in half, right? Like you use yours to cut spaghetti or pasta or whatever, right? Just like a scissor. What's going on right here? There's a lot of muscle attachments and a really big what cavity? What's up front, most anterior on your face? The furthest anterior thing you have. Nasal cavity. So what is particularly important to them? Sense of smell, odor. And if, use some context clues. If you have a very strong sense of smell, look at their eye socket, combine those two, what is more important to them? Odor, right? The sense of smell is way more important by a long shot. And you can just tell that by looking at the skull, right? You can probably guess, can they see? Yes, of course they can. Is their vision very good? Probably not. Is this making sense? How you can like identify these things? Okay. There are 2 genera, 3 species. They can weigh up to 36 kilograms, which is how much in US dumb units? Does anyone know the conversion? 2.2 pounds is 1 kilogram. A little shy. 79 pounds. Thereabouts. Anyone know I said US dumb units? Because it doesn't make any sense. There's no standard, like ever. What? Because there's a U.S. pound and a British pound, and they're different. And then there's an imperial pound, which is also different. And pound sterling, which is also different than the other ones. What? It makes no sense. Just use metric. It makes sense, and there's a standard. All right, tail vestigial, meaning what? For example, you have a vestigial tail. It's remnants there. Do you have remnants of a tail? Yes. It's your coccyx vertebrae that are fused. It's there. Is it a tail anymore? No. So it's a vestigial thing. Just like your appendix is a vestigial organ. Does it actually do something? Yes, it does actually do something, but it doesn't do what it once did. Right now, it just stores bacteria and releases bacteria in your microbiome. That's what it's for. But it's fine if you don't have it. It's not a big deal, right? So it's a vestigial organ kind of thing. Okay, these guys, possibly the dumbest animal on the planet. That or a dove. I'm not sure which, because doves are also really dumb. They will lay an egg right on the middle of a sidewalk with one twig. You ever see that? Real dumb. Just dumb. Dumb birds. These guys, probably dumber, just because they'll starve. Did I say that on my day? Yeah. Just a pile of food in front of them, still starve. Just not good. They also tend to carry syphilis. So if you go to Australia and you see one that needs help, be careful. I wouldn't just pick it up. I'll pick up a lot of things and just, yoink it straight from the ground. But I'm not picking up a koala, right? I'm not going to. Yeah. So they're just like rampant monsters that sleep for 23 hours a day. And then the other part, they're awake trying to eat. But the eucalyptus leaves, I don't know if you know this, but have a mild sedative effect as well. So that's why they sleep. It's like they're constantly buzzed all the time because of the food they eat. And the food is not even high quality. So it's like they're buzzed from the food they eat, plus it's low quality, so they don't have the energy either. And so this is part of the reason why I think they're so dumb, because they just didn't have the energy to develop a larger brain in the first place. So it's just like, this is an evolutionary dead end. This is going to go nowhere. Honestly, just like pandas, just nowhere. What about them? A lot of people love koalas, though. I don't blame them. They look hilarious and they're cute, but still. They're arboreal, 8 to 12 kilograms, fairly sedentary. Obviously, we just said that. Why? Microbial fermentation in cecum. You know where your cecum is in your small intestine? It hangs off after your duodenum. So your duodenum's the inner, jejunum, and then your cecum's in there. Okay. This guy, Burramyidae, pygmy possums, looks like a possum, just tiny, right? Its rostrum is slender a little bit. It, again, looks funny. A lot of Metatherians just look funny. Small, up to 40 grams. Looks kind of like a weird shrew to me with bigger eyes, right? It's kind of shrewish, but just has really big eyes for a shrew. But of course, it's neither of them. Mountain pygmy possum capable of hibernation. Do you, while it's on my mind, do you know the difference between what actual hibernation is and torpor? Because some animals engage in torpor, but not hibernation. Bears are hibernation. They are hibernation. Yeah, bears are definitely hibernation, but they can be woken up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's an example?
Good. But, yeah.
Like what's an example?
And the state of what they're in. So hibernation is the length of time and the deepness of the sedative sleep or whatever they're in. Torpor is like mini hibernation, and it's not as hard to get them out of it. So The classic example of torpor is hummingbirds. Hummingbirds go into torpor every single night because their metabolism is so high that if it were to continue, they would die before sunrise again because they consume so many calories relative to their size. So they have to slow their entire metabolic rate down, which is torpor. But then they reawake every single day. Hibernation is over a long period of time into a deeper sleep, such that you have to prepare your entire body condition to extend the length of it and survive it, kind of thing. Both of which you can be woken up from, though. And within the past decade, for whatever reason, Alaska has thought it legal to go into a grizzly bear den and hunt them while they're hibernating, which is just wild. Isn't that wild? You should not be able to kill a grizzly bear while it's hibernating in its den over winter. What are we doing?
That's just cheating.
That's like, what are we doing? I mean, I understand like people hunting for meat and stuff because they need to like eat. I get that. But like, what? Really? Like, what are we doing? Right? Like it just doesn't compute. All right. Phalagurinidae. These guys here, what are these? There's a bear cuscus. It has this nice bushy, fluffy tail. It's got ears that are like starting to become kind of like a bandicoot a little bit. And then these guys over here, bush-tailed possum. This, man, they look strange, don't they? It's got like, well, their face is like smaller and it's almost like monkey-ish, like it's almost like a primate-looking thing, right? But then they have the rest of them looks nothing like it. So it's like this weird Mediterranean mix. All right, tar as a Pittidae, 12 or 7 to 12 grams, single species. Look this guy up. What is rostratus, you think? Look it up and it should be apparent. What does that look like? Some of these I've left pictures off of on purpose. That way you guys are looking them up while you're in here and you kind of like get some kind of, yeah. Right? You see him? See it? Look at it. Long prehensile tail, bristled tongue used to extract nectar. Really weird looking animal. Yeah. Jaw muscles and teeth reduced. Why? It doesn't need to chew anything. It's eating nectar. Okay. Acrobatidae, 2 genera, 2 species, feather-like hairs on the tail tip. These guys are gliders. You all know what a glider is, like a sugar glider or something, right? Okay. Feather-tail gliders exhibit embryonic dipause. What is embryonic dipause? Any idea? Don't think too hard about it. Mm-hmm. Two paws? Meaning what? Okay. It's suspended development at some point in time. So it's pausing between, therefore it has two in utero development stages. Does that make sense? Yeah.
I like on your slide with the phalangidae one, the labels are backwards.
What slide number is this? 55. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I'll change it. Thank you. Where was I? Here. Here. All right. 6 genera, 17 species, and Pseudocheridae. 6 genres, 17 species. Ringtail possums. You've probably seen a ringtail possum before, almost certainly. It's one of the more popular metatherians that exist, and they're not as threatened like many others. Again, microbial fermentation in cecum. So it's kind of like the fermentation factor in ruminants in a way, but it's just on a micro level, much smaller. Great gliders, largest gliding metatherian, is located within this, and they're herbivorous. They only eat tree leaves. Okay, where do I want to get onto some species I want to focus on here? Oh, God, we're already over. All right. It's already 51. I will see you Friday, and likely I will skip ahead on some of this. I'll probably just skip ahead to here and get to some mammalian reproduction and eutherian stuff that we're more familiar with. And then if we get through this, which we likely will, I'll open up the next one, which is body plan. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So on the video, you're saying like there's a binomial process and there's a multivariate process. You want us to do
Just the binomial. Yeah. Point 0.05.
Okay. And then for the p-value, because we're doing gender, it's 0.5. I looked at it. Different, but
Well, you're doing sex. You're not doing gender, you're doing sex. It's a massively different thing, right?
null is bisexually female and the alternate is bisexually
Yes,
male.
right. And so there's a 50% chance of it being either male or female.
So p is 0.5. Because there's a
The expected is 0.5, right? And so your expectation is that half of them are going to be male and half of them are going to be female.
I've conducted the tests and they're all about significance level of 0.05. It's not like more than. Did you use the Yeah, I used the one that was good.
That doesn't sound right to me.
I don't think that's what I thought.
Binomial. At least with the data that we have of 14 males out of 19 total.
Should your alternative hypothesis and just be like, if the ratio is 50-50, the ratio is not 50-50, and you can do the two-tailed test.
But isn't that kind of like not an accurate representation if our hypothesis is that something is going to be exactly 50%, then that would be like a.
Well, I thought that's why.
Well,
It's more likely that you will see a male.
yeah, so it's either male or female, but you're going with the presupposition that the lone bison are males because you have an informed opinion or an informed fact already. Okay, so yes, it's true that it's either male or female, but you're going in with the supposition that they're going to be male from prior knowledge, right? Which is like it's a priori information that you're getting already. So let me just find it here.
So writing this on.
The hypothesis goes at the end of an introduction, or some kind of. It doesn't have to be a stated hypothesis. Yeah, sure. Let me find it here. I'll bring up the test just on here. Okay, so this is the binomial calculator, yeah? We have 19 total. And our K was 14. Oh. Oh, God.
I was just saying what Tara said wrong.
Okay, 19 was our total N. Our successes was 14. P is 0.05, yeah? All right, calculate. This is what you should get.
Oh, P is in the significance level, not probability of that.
Yes,
So 0.05, not 0.5.
yeah.
I see. That's the alpha.
Do you want a distribution curve as well?
Yeah, if you can generate one.
It's a video with like,
That's,
Yeah.
I don't like that there's two different variables with dynamic test that.
Welcome to regressions where there's little r and big R and they're not the same thing.
We got 26 letters, we can choose one.
Yeah, but that's unfortunately we weren't the ones that made the rules. These are just the rules we have to live by.
so the hypothesis we're testing is that we're finding more male bison than we're finding female bison.
Yeah, your hypothesis essentially should be something to the effect of the wording that we suspect lone bison are predominantly male. Something like that.
Then we guys source the paper.
Do you want it like?
Yeah.
The results.
Yeah, short as you can make it that still has all the information required. Still talks about bison, gives some natural history of what they are, and then what we looked at, right? Like we looked at them through microscopes, binos, standing this far away from them to this far away. We observed bison. They were considered lone bison if they were X amount distance away from a herd, et cetera, et cetera.
Currently at 7 pages.
7 pages? Sure.
Those are like my own
Seven.
pretty much my own
I'm not
personal.
Yeah.
I'm still my instructions.
Oh, yeah. I was
Okay.
gonna ask, for any of the papers, did you say we could or couldn't use Wikipedia?
Sure.
You can go to Wikipedia, get cursory information,
Okay.
and then if that is cited somewhere on Wikipedia, go to that site
Right.
and then use that primary source. But you're not citing Wikipedia
Yeah, I
itself.
think so. I was like, I remember you brought it up. That felt weird.
Yeah, so going to Wikipedia to find general information is very good. Definitely do that. It's very good.
So actually, for other scenarios that I've had, is when like the information isn't cited, like, is that considered like an area that would be general knowledge or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've been curious about that for a while, but I always forget to ask.
And it's keep in mind general knowledge towards the audience that it's pointed at,
Okay.
right? So just because it's not ubiquitous general knowledge doesn't really mean anything. General knowledge to an ornithologist is different than general knowledge to a mammologist,
Right.
right? But it's still general knowledge. If you just had one course or read a mammalogy textbook, an ornithologist would then consider it general knowledge,
Okay.
right? So
I do. I was actually supposed to have it in this.
Also, I was going to say, just because